Hey guys, it is Sterling MMA here. It's my first video. I just want to talk about something that's been on my mind a lot lately, and that is the status of the welterweight division. And we have UFC 296 coming up with basically almost the entire top 10 in welterweight being represented in there. And there's so many possible scenarios that could happen that I could see going down, but honestly, the one that I've really been thinking about as a possibility, and people don't like to talk about this guy because he doesn't speak English, and so he doesn't really have that much of a presence. You know, similar to like Alex Pereira, you just don't really get to know him that well because of the language barrier. And I'm talking about Shavkat Rakhmonov. Shavkat 17-0 with 17 finishes. I think more impressive than his record is the fact that every single one of his fights has been a finish. Ian Gary is undefeated, but not every fight was a finish. He should have finished. I don't know how he didn't finish Neil Magny. And Neil Magny is a absolute tank for not ever continuing to stand up after his legs got kicked out just completely. But honestly, you have three matchups right in the welterweight division, and I'm just gonna say hypothetically, Shavkat, there's a good chance he could get a title shot. Now, hear me out, okay? Currently, welterweight obviously is Leon 1, Kamaru 2, but he moved up. 2 is Bilal. 3 is Kobe. So Colby versus Leon, let's just say hypothetically, Leon wins. I'm just gonna say that the favorites are gonna win. So let's just say Leon wins hypothetically. Bilal theoretically has been promised a title shot. But the UFC isn't always like perfect with staying true to their promises for giving guys title shots, and you know, we saw it recently. I was surprised that Chito Vera got the title shot against Sean O'Malley, when I think the consensus there is that he does not deserve it over guys like Corey Sandhagen or Merab. Definitely not over Corey Sandhagen. I mean, I kind of understand Merab because he didn't take the Sterling fights, but Sandhagen just dominated Rob Font. Now you're going to give it to Chito Vera. I mean, I think that's pretty ridiculous. But what I'm trying to say is that they're not always staying true to the rankings. They're not always staying true to what people think is going to happen. So right now people think the winner, Bilal, gets the next shot. But the UFC is an entertainment business. It means they're a for-profit business, and their goal is to make money. And is Bilal gonna be able to sell a pay-per-view? Like, would you pay money to watch Bilal Muhammad versus Leon Edwards? I think the UFC knows that the answer for most people is no. And then you got Gilbert Burns under Colby right now, who's coming back off of injury now. How much respect does the UFC have for Gilbert Burns? I don't know. I mean, how much do they respect the fact that he was just part of the number 1 contender fight against Bilal, and he got injured? I don't know. I mean, that's what I'm trying to say is you have Shavkat only one spot below Gilbert at number 5. He's fighting number 6, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Okay, number 7 is Geoff Neal, who Shavkat beat. Then you have 8 Luque, 9 Brady, and then 10 Ian Gary. So Ian Gary, 10, is fighting 8 Luque. I see Gary winning. Let's just say hypothetically, right? Gary wins, okay. This is going to be interesting. So Edwards versus Colby. Edwards presumably will fight Muhammad, and Colby, if Colby loses, he will probably fight Burns. I think that's the idea that everyone has. Then you have Edwards versus Bilal and Colby versus Gilbert Burns. Okay, that puts Shavkat 2 levels below a title shot. And I think that if Shavkat goes in there and does what people think he's gonna do to Stephen Thompson, people's minds are just instantly going to be changed in the direction of fast track him to a title shot. I don't know. I mean, Burns has been gone. He thinks he's going to fight the loser of the title fight. But are you telling me, like, if Shavkat goes in there, right? And again, the odds are just heavily in favor of Shavkat. So I'm just saying, this is what people think is going to happen. People think that Shavkat is going to dominate Stephen Thompson, which I don't know. But let's just, like, I think that there's a good chance of that happening. Let's say Shavkat goes in there, finishes him early, or even just has a just complete dominant performance over Stephen Thompson. I mean, if that is fresh on people's minds, they're not giving respect to Burns anymore. Burns, you can't tell me that you can justify putting Burns over Shavkat if Shavkat goes in there and dominates Thompson at UFC 296, which I think is the likely scenario. And again, like, if Shavkat loses to Stephen Thompson, he's a fraud. He's a fraud, and like, he's not getting a title shot for another year or two. I mean, that sets his career back so far. But let's say he goes in there, submits him in the first round, or knocks him out in the first couple rounds, or just has a dominant performance. I would argue not only that you could put him over Gilbert Burns in that case, coming off of an injury, and then maybe you make Burns versus Thompson, but I'd also argue that you could put Shavkat then over Bilal Muhammad for the title shot. I mean, again, the UFC is an entertainment business. They don't always stay true to the rankings. And you're telling me if you see a guy in Shavkat, who's now, if he beats Thompson, if he finishes Thompson, now he's 18-0 with 18 finishes, including Stephen Thompson, Geoff Neal, and who's the other one? It was Carlston Harris. Yeah, Carlston Harris, right? First round knockout of Carlston Harris. And Neil Magny. Wow. Yeah, and Neil Magny too. Forgot about that one even. I mean, yeah, I really think if Shavkat goes in there and dominates Stephen Thompson, you put him over Burns. So he's at least going to fight the loser of Edwards versus Covington if he dominates Thompson. And I know Bilal has promised that title shot, but like, again, if Shavkat goes in there and dominates Stephen Thompson, he gets the title shot. That's all I'm trying to say. He gets the next title shot. Like, Shavkat could be the champion. You don't even hear his name, but you will know his name after UFC 296. Not only that, like, this guy, if he does what people think he's gonna do, Shavkat gets the next title shot, which probably will be defended by Leon or Colby in March or April 2024. I just think if he doesn't get that and they still respect Bilal, they're going to put him over Burns, and then he gets the next title shot after that, late 2024. And I think that he will be champion by the end of 2024. I think that Shavkat Rakhmonov will be champion by the end of 2024. Mark my words. It's just been on my mind, and it's such a crazy thought that just this guy is a guy you don't hear a lot about, but he's just running through people, and he stayed so low-key. It's crazy that a guy, I mean, in what other division is there a possible champion in the next year that you haven't heard of? I don't see. I mean, maybe Magomed Ankalaev, but people know about Magomed Ankalaev. I mean, he was the main event at the Blachowicz with the Blachowicz fight. I think that was the main event. Yeah. But he's probably gonna get the light heavyweight title shot if he beats Johnny Walker, or he'll fight the winner of Pereira versus Hill. And Hill's in jail. Look, there's so much to talk about in the UFC, but I'm just focusing on the welterweight division. And the main idea that I'm trying to get across is Shavkat Rakhmonov could be the champion within the next 6 months. and he will be the champion by the end of 2024.